How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and today it's going to be a little bit different. This is a 2015 Audi R8, and it's not a super low mileage example. It doesn't have a 1,000 horsepower twin turbo kit, and it's not even mine, but this car is one of the most important in modern history because this car, this exact car, was the last one fitted with a gated manual transmission, and today I'm going to rebuild it. So if you guys are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy it, and consider subscribing if these are the kinds of projects and cars you like to see. Now, usually I just work on my own cars. I don't take anybody else's cars on as projects, but when I heard the story of this car and its owner, I had to do something. So this story starts out a few years ago, actually, when I bought that Lamborghini Gallardo. You see, Michelin invited me on their Pilot Sport 4S launch, where I got to drive a bunch of cars and basically feel out what those tires were all about. Now, during that experience, I met a lot of really interesting people, and one of the awesome people that I met was Erik Dietz. He was a Porsche Experience driver, and he worked closely with Michelin. He's a really, really awesome guy, and we actually ended up going to Goodwood, the Festival of Speed, the next year. So Erik and I stayed in contact after those press events, and we became good friends. Now, I knew that he had some really cool cars in the stable, but this was probably the coolest. This is a 2015 Audi R8 V8, and for those of you that know a little bit about Audis, you'll know that Audi's V8 program officially ended in 2014. This is the only 2015 V8, and it's also the very last one with a gated manual transmission. It was ordered specifically by Erik through Audi. I think Erik had to beg them to make this car, but I love the way this came out. The Nardo gray paint, it's not primer. I love the carbon fiber accents, and I love the fact that this car was designed with a V8 and it came with a V8, and that's the way Erik wanted it, and honestly I think I sort of agree with him. This car was driven more than probably any other R8 on earth. This car has 143,000 miles on it as it sits right now. It's been to the Nürburgring, it's been to Spa, it's been all over Europe, all the racetracks, it's been all over racetracks in the United States. It's done countless coast-to-coast road trips. This was a daily driver and a sports car dream for Erik. He absolutely adored and loved this car, but the only thing he loved more was his fiance. And a few years ago, his fiance was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And Erik's life was turned upside down. He had to sell everything he had to make ends meet, to make sure that she was getting the treatment that she needed. All the money that he saved from his business ventures or his work with Michelin and work with Porsche, that all had to go to basically keep her alive. This was the last thing on the list. This was something that he wouldn't want to get rid of, but he would, because obviously that's more important than this car would ever be. So this car essentially became his real daily driver. He didn't have any other car to commute to work or do anything else. This was no longer a luxury, this was a necessity. And the car wasn't really having it at that point, so the engine gave out. The price tag for a new engine and installation would have been north of $30,000. And obviously with the situation with his fiance, that wouldn't have been an option. So that's when I just offered to help him out, because what I have is a shop and I have tools. I told Erik if he could get an engine, then I could do the work. So Audi, the big billion-dollar brand that makes cars all over the world, they stepped up and they gave Erik a brand new long block for this car. Now, it's not that simple. A long block is not just you put it in and off you go. There's a lot of little things that go into it. There's a lot of little things around the engine that would need to be replaced. Now, we didn't know what that was, but I was willing to find out. And another person, actually another company, was willing to find out as well, and that company is Autotempest. Now, you guys will have known that I work with Autotempest on almost all my big projects, but this one, again, being a little bit different, this is not something I found on Autotempest, but this kind of car is what you would look for on Autotempest. You could look for a awesome project car of your own, you can look for a dream car, you can look for something cheap. Autotempest is probably the best partner I've ever had, and that is only accentuated by the fact that they are donating $20,000 to cancer research because of this video. So I'd like to thank Autotempest just personally. They are amazing, amazing guys. And if you guys want to donate to that same cancer research, then the link will be in the description below. So I bet you're wondering why I'm standing in front of this car instead of getting dirty and getting to work. Well, that's because this car is already done. You see, the process of doing this entire rebuild took more than half a year. I videoed all of it so you guys can see exactly what goes into putting a brand new engine in a very iconic, very exotic, and very, just good looking car. So without further ado, let's go back in time and see what that's like. All right, so let's begin. This engine is a 4.2 liter, 420 horsepower V8. Well, it would be if it didn't have a dead cylinder. Now, one of the cylinders is low on compression. You definitely don't want that in a high performance engine in a high performance supercar. So what we have to do is we have to pull the engine, and I've actually never done that before, so that makes me really excited because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Isn't that a new thing on the channel? Me, doing things when I don't really have a plan for it. This is going to be impossible. I have no idea where any of this goes.
I do.
Okay, good.
Listen, I did it all off camera.
Uh-huh.
So of course you don't know where it goes.
We can cut that. Almost. All right. Look at that.
All right. One little watch your toe.
Yep. Oh boy.
Liberated.
Look at that.
And we're dragging a wheel.
That's fine. Dude. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I don't want to do this anymore.
There's at least room for 2 more cylinders in there. And turbos.
And turbos. And turbos.
And a supercharger.
That's just...
What else? Nitrous.
Nitrous, yes.
Maybe just nitrous. Or maybe just nothing.
this is the new engine going in. Now, when they sent over a long block, it doesn't look like this. This is with all of the fixins. However, I can't put the engine in the car because we're missing some vital components. Now, if you come down here, I'm gonna move this out of the way, you'll see that there is a little hole right here and a bearing goes in there, and then a shaft goes through the engine because of course this is a all-wheel drive car. Now that shaft was actually broken. Oh, the shaft is back here, I can see it. So I'll show you what I mean. Now this shaft is what goes inside the engine. It doesn't go in the oil pan, but it rides alongside it. And there are these little bearings. All right, Jared's holding it now. So there's these little bearings, and they're not supposed to be like this. This is a press fit, and these are, yeah, that's that's not a press fit. Also, you can see that this is super janky. This looked like it was quite hot. So this unfortunately is not savable because the bearing race, which is usually harder metal than the shaft itself, wore a groove in here. You can actually feel a little bit of a lip. And since these are interference fit, which means that you have to put this on a, well, at least just tap this on, this is not gonna work, especially because we have a new engine. So I had to order this brand new from Germany, and that takes about 2 to 3 weeks. Coming back here, this is the Audi 4.2 that we took out of the Nardo R8. This is the 143,000 mile example. Yeah, so check that out. These are supposed to be clean ports for the intake, and yeah, they're not very clean. This is a very, very dirty engine. And the reason for that is because this is a direct injection engine. These engines, unfortunately, don't have the advantage of a traditional port injection engine, which is the gas actually cleans the valves when it goes in. The direct injection, the injectors are right here. They're inside the cylinder. So everything up here can get gummed up with oil, especially if you don't have a catch can. So that's what happened with this. I think a piece of carbon or hardened something just went inside the cylinder, just scored the cylinder wall and gave it low compression. So this would have to get rebuilt at some point if this was going to be usable. But honestly, I mean, it's a cool timepiece. Nobody has a 143,000 mile Audi engine, and maybe Audi wants this back. I don't know. So would you believe it, this is 2 months later. A lot has happened between when we were just waiting for parts and right now, but the car is almost together. It looks like a long way to go, but it's actually not that long at all. You can see Jared is a little scruffy, and I am, whoo boy. We did a lot in the interim. We got the parts. The parts took a month by themselves, and then we shot a little thing called Car Trek and did a bunch of other stuff. But now we're back on this project, and this is gonna get done today, and we're gonna have the first start of the brand new engine. But let me just go over everything that needs to get done from this point forward. So if you go under here, you can see that brand new engine. I love seeing brand new parts. They're all so shiny, and then you go to the kind of used parts, the ones with 140,000 miles, and they're not so shiny, but we still kind of clean them up anyway. What we have to do is connect all these coolant lines down here, wherever these go. The electrical connections, this is for the alternator, and the main power for the starter. We have the grounds, we have drive shaft going up to the front, we have the accessory belt. Also, we have the AC lines that go over here. We have to obviously drain and fill the AC. Well, we don't have to drain it, it's already drained. We have to put a vacuum on the system and then refill the system. And up here, just make sure that everything is tight. There's no bolts holding on the engine right now. There will be after we're done, but we're gonna tighten up everything on the bottom, then go up top, figure out the harness, run that onto the inside, put all the accessories in, put the exhaust in, put the intake manifold on. Hopefully everything goes back where it came from, no hoses are broken or no fittings are missing, and then we can start it up for the first time. Oh, before that we also have to put in all the fluids because you don't want to start a new engine without oil.
That's bad. You need oil.
Okay, it is time for the first start. We have the airbox on, we have all the coolant and oil and fluids inside the engine. We do need to top them off after the engine is running. And also the engine does have oil in it. I know that a lot of people are concerned of, the cylinders not being lubricated. The engine was actually run at the Audi factory. These are not brand new built engines. They do have some miles on them, just because they need to wear them in just a little bit to make sure everything's running correctly. So there is some oil in the engine. In the block itself, there is enough oil in the oil tank. We have the transmission full of fluid, we have the clutch bled, and we have no exhaust, which is going to be very spicy, and we're just gonna send it, right?
Why not? Let's send it.
Let's send it. Well, we're not actually like sending it. We're just trying to see if this thing turns on and doesn't explode. Hopefully it doesn't explode. It's a brand new engine. We're gonna cycle the key. I can't exactly get into this car right now just because there's no space, but put into the on position.
That air pump's busy going to town.
Yeah, air pump's making some noise, but
Just watching for any fuel leaks.
yeah.
Something's leaking.
Yep, there's a leak. Okay. Okay, round two. Turns out that 2 of the fittings weren't very tight.
Nope. I thought we weren't including that.
First off, let's see if this leaks anything. Here goes nothing. All right. Engine should have some oil in it.
Yep.
To tell me to turn it off, just yell real loud, okay?
Okay, really loud, because there's no anything.
Okay.
You know,
Fire extinguisher?
Right there.
3, 2, 1. I'm just gonna turn it off.
It drank some coolant down.
It drank some coolant. Did it make any weird noises?
No. It blew out some of the old, awful burnt oil from the failed engine, but
Okay.
it fired up really quick and happy, so that's a good sign.
Well, we have to let it run for about 2 minutes, and then we will check the oil level because it's a dry sump. And then we will maybe top off with oil and then let her idle for a bit.
Not too much idling. We ought to keep the RPMs moving on the fresh engine. So
Okay, all
even
right.
though it's mostly run in, you don't want to just sit there and hold one static RPM too long.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're jumping straight into the test drive. It's really, really dark in here. Let's see how this does. Wow, that's pretty loud. So the problem with test driving a car like this is that these cars are meant to be driven hard on a track. This does have a dry sump V8 meant for G's and hard cornering. The issue is that this is a brand new engine, and Audi recommends no more than 4,000 RPM and 50% throttle. That is the max that we can get to. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to look and see if our pressures are good, our temperatures are good, there's no weird sounds or smells coming from the engine. Now, there will be a little bit of smoke from things just burning off, and there might be some kind of rattles if things are left loose. It is a 150,000 mile car after all, but I think this should be more or less okay just because the engine started up first try and it's not leaking anything profusely from the bottom. So I love this gated shifter. I think I actually like it more than the Lamborghini one. So the clutch engages very well, engages exactly where it's supposed to be, right in the middle of the pedal travel. Put in first gear. Super, super easy. Now that exhaust is obviously not stock. It is a very open exhaust, which gives it a little bit more. Oh, that sounds pretty good. Now the car isn't warmed up right now. It's about a quarter on the coolant temp and just past the first peg on the oil temp. So this does have an oil cooler installed, and that uses the coolant, which means that the oil cooler has a thermostat of its own, and I think that opens up around 240 degrees. We're also going to be looking out for warning lights, check engine lights, stability control lights, that sort of thing, because as the car learns, it might have some errors that we might need to then clear. As long as they don't come back, I think we'll be good. Now, Erik does have some very sticky brakes. And what I mean by sticky is aggressive. They make some noise. All right, so that was 3,500 RPM. We don't want to go too far above that. I'm doing about 20% throttle here, and it sounds amazing. So I have a red light coming up, and I'm going down through the gears to make sure that it can engine brake as much as possible, just to give the engine a little bit more of that workout, that initial workout that it needs. And it just sounds so good. I wish I could go above 4,000 RPM, but that transforms this into a momentum car, essentially. Go around the roundabout. Everything shifts over to one side. And that gate. I'm driving a piece of history. Now, I do have to thank a lot of people for this project. Now, first and foremost, I have to thank Erik, because without him, obviously, I wouldn't be able to work on a car like this. This is definitely a bucket list thing for me. But I also have to thank Jared. Jared came in always the MVP that guy is. He didn't know how to work on these things either, but I figured two minds are better than one, and we figured it out. We didn't have any bonus parts. We didn't have any loose bolts. Everything went back where it should be. And I'd also like to thank Audi for providing the engine. I'd also like to thank Advanced Auto Parts for the little bits and pieces that we had to buy. I'd like to give a shout out to Lake County Euros, because they had a bunch of stuff ordered straight from Germany when we couldn't find it anywhere else. And last but not least, Auto Tempest, because they donated as much as, well, you could probably buy one of these cars at salvage auction for that price, and they're donating that to cancer research. So thank you so much to everyone that helped out on this project. This is fantastic. I am so happy that this happened. I think that's going to be it for this test drive. Let's go give Erik his car. I kind of don't want to. I want one of these. I want one so bad. Okay, so he's here. I thought you would give me a little more time, dude.
Oh, I just couldn't wait to get here.
How long has it been since you've driven this car?
June 3rd of last year.
Okay, so not that long, right?
So coming up on 11 months.
Wow. Okay, so here she is. Not too different from how you left her, except for the fact that there is a new engine back there.
Yes, brand new Audi Sport 4.2 liter V8.
Also, we did a few things. So we cleaned out the intake manifold. It was super dirty inside. We replaced a bunch of other things. There were some bearings that were bad. We replaced all the seals, all the gaskets. Obviously fluids and filters and all that stuff. So would you like to start your car for the first time?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. AC is nice and recharged as well, so awesome. You don't have to stick in the sweltering heat. Yeah, I just took it on a little test drive. It was fantastic, and I think it's ready for how long you got to go today?
It's an 8-hour, 500 and some mile drive.
Oh yeah, so by the time you get home, you'll be good to go.
We'll be ripping. yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's she's my second love, right?
Yes. So speaking of that, so I mentioned to you before that Auto Tempest is going to be donating $20,000 to a cancer research charity.
It's absolutely a worthy cause. I mean, anything to help those people out there. I mean, I can say firsthand, insurance, research, it never goes as far as you think it will.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to help out, and hopefully awesome. People also donate what they can, and that allows us also to do stuff like this. I mean, this is obviously a labor of love, but I can see that this is your dream car. So I'm really happy that you have it back now.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. We've missed it. We've missed going on drives together. I mean, we used to take road trips together all the time, and I think, we skipped our honeymoon for our wedding, but I think now that we have her back, we're going to take her and we're going to go on a honeymoon sometime this year when quarantine is lifted.
Yes.
But it'll be great to be back on the road with her and get back to hitting the track and all the good things. Awesome.
All right, so I think you guys should probably get on the road, and I'm gonna end this video, but I'm so glad that this car was in my life. Thank you guys for watching this, and again, thank you to everybody that made this a reality. I love this car. I kind of want one now, but until next time, this is me reminding you guys that on cars like this and causes that really matter, you guys need to wrench every day.